start the recording and hang on, give me 1 second, Shayna. The Zoom update changed some features. So Shayna, you will have to unmute yourself and you just go right ahead, my friend.
All right, good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. In accordance with our group conscience on October 16, 2023, we will also be posting our podcast on YouTube. We feel that this is an effective way to carry our message to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. Tonight's recap, there is no recap tonight, we are going to be starting a new chapter. So our study portion is going to be starting on page 1, and then I will read what we call the blue page, so that's not something that you all will have.
But I will share the blue page. And quick announcements. Again, thank you for good evening, family. My name's Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic. Quick announcements on the as we post to YouTube, it will still be audio only. Just like there are many speaker tapes out there, there are many AA platforms on YouTube already. Please feel free to use it for a resource. You can feel free to use your pickle name, disguise your voice, not speak on it, and speak in the meeting after, whatever you please. We don't want anyone to be uncomfortable. We just want to offer an optional way to have what we do in this meeting out into the world. Fourth quarter voting assembly is coming up here next month, and I will be attending as your GSR and representing the group, and it will be a vote of the changing of the officers going into the new year of service next week. So I don't know who's going to be up for elections, but I will do my best to be of service and try and make the right choices that I feel will be of best service to this group and to Area 64 and Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole. That being said, thank you all for being here, and good evening. I'm still Jamie and a recovered alcoholic. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of silent meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer. And you know what? We need to take the silent moment out because we have the monks. We're not exactly silent, are we?
And I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Shayna. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted, and sharing is to not distract others or yourself. We suggest that we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. A friendly reminder that the absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
And from the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture. Breathe in God and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And on that note, let's bring those cute little monks in and let them do what they do. Enjoy your time with God, folks. Welcome back. And if you'd like to join us in our family's Foglight prayer, it'll be on your screen in front of you. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
All right, and let's have our secretary's report. Nick?
Hi. Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Nancy to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group are identified as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Nancy.
Nancy has disappeared out of her screen. Miela, is that how we say it? Would you like to come in and read it? Please, by all means.
Miela alcoholic, recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergy reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime, but we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in the body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our big book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements of sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA who really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way, 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Welcome, Ayala. Glad to have you with us.
Welcome.
I'm Hannah. I'm an alcoholic. This is my first time at this meeting.
Welcome, Hannah. Good to have you.
Welcome to both of you.
And those new to AA?
We got Anthony's hand up as well. Anthony, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Hey everybody, Anthony Alcoholic. First time in this meeting. I've been to your fourth step workshop before.
Wonderful. Welcome.
And Kimberly put in chat that she's her first time also.
Wonderful.
Yes, it's my first time in this meeting. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you for being here.
Welcome everybody, that's new. Okay, and then the recovered alcoholics. Those are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
Don't see anybody.
Thank you. If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our Southern tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo or PayPal, posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase the big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website, posted in the chat. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Mayala, for stepping up. And welcome to everyone who is new. I hope you enjoyed what we have to offer here. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to all those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself, nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
And before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed tradition. Help me out, family.
8.
Thank you. Tradition 8, and tonight we're going to look at tradition 9. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Who is our lucky traditionalist?
It is
William. Would you like to come in?
My name is, thanks for allowing me to do so. My name is William Alcoholic, and Tradition 9 is coming from the Big Book. Tradition 9, such ought to never be organized bills, may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. That was the short form, and here go the long form. Tradition EJA group needs the least possible organization. Rotating leadership is the best. The small group may elect its secretary. The large group its rotating committee, and the groups of a large metropolitan area, their central intergroup committee, which often employs a full-time secretary. The trustees of general service boards are in effect our AA General Service Committee. They are the custodian of our AIDS tradition and receive a voluntary contribution by which we maintain our general service office that we know. They are authorized by the groups to handle our overall in handling our overall public relationship. They guarantee the integrity of our principal newspaper, the AA Grapevine, all such representation of the guys in the spirit of service. But true leaders in AA, but trusted and experienced servant, all the whole, they derive to no real authority from their talents. They do not govern. Universal respect is the key to our usurper. And whenever you talk about the tradition, it's good to know. I like to look back at the history of alcoholic analysis and how it all got started. Whenever you look back at the history of Alcoholics Anonymous, it was trial and error that this happened. Go back to the in the beginning when it was printing the big book, and they needed money to print the big book, and the Rockefeller gave them $9,000, and we found out that wasn't enough, and they began to look for people they could get money from to be there. And Charlie from Town Hospital gave them another $3,000, whichever. They came up with $8,000 and they printed the big book. And from that, it was like something that was beginning to happen. People started having groups and meetings in their house. Dr. Bob House was one of the first, and then Bill in New York is. Then a meeting in Philadelphia, in house in Philadelphia, and then Marty Lynn up in Connecticut. And these people began to meet. They began to want seminar, question and answer. What do we do here? What we do this? What we do that? You had a lot of people who weren't alcoholics who helped them, And at that time, the secretary was Ruth Hopkins. She did a lot of work. They say writing and answering questions and sending letters out. So they needed something right away. They saying they needed something to make the recovery process possible for all alcoholics, and that's how the groups began to spring up, And later on, they began to look at it's no bosses here, It's like we do service, And then they begin to look outside of the group to make it possible. Like whenever they in the beginning it was Alcoholics Foundation, whenever they was giving money for it, and then all of a sudden they changed the name to the World Service, to continue to reach out for alcoholics and see us up. So inside of that, like all other company, you always get your directors come from above. And Alcoholics Anonymous is like an upside down triangle. The directors come from the groups. They come from the group. For the service board, they have the service, and some of the service boards that service the district, the area committee, GSO, and intergroup. And all of the information that they serve us directly from our group functions and stuff. And one of the things that always come to mind when we talk about this, like whenever Bill, and which would be important to the group, when Bill was at Charlie and they began to see this thing unfold, and Charlie wanted to make Bill a new therapist, and Bill said he was on the subway coming home, and the doors open, and he saw something say it was straight from God, and he said that service is honor his wages. Anyhow, he worked his high and stuff. So he thought that was a message from God. Anyhow, when he got home and he was seating people in his kitchen, and they were sitting around, so he told them to good meeting. He said to them like, Charlie want to give me a job in Town Hospital and lay therapies and stuff like that. They say, good for be the enemy of the best, you know. So these things just didn't happen. These things happen because of trial and error, you know. Anyhow, it was all about making 12-step work possible and writing it little too. And just like any other cooperation, we needed the same thing that they do, like a builder, people to do the work, you know. And so some of these become, they say a labor is worthy of their hire. And some of these have to hire some people to do some of the things, the legal things and all that and stuff like that to make 12-step work possible. You know, and I like this part right here that it works. You know, as we begin, it has some that I do as we cover the people, you know. And one thing that stands out for me, you know, and I'm going to read it. It comes from the 12 and 12 about this tradition about Alcoholics Anonymous period. And if I may say, it's talk about the foundation as independent board. It's today directly accountable to our fellowship. Its trustees are caretakers and expediter of our war service. And then they say, just as each AA member is person sobriety, the aim of our service to bring sobriety within reach to all who wants it. There's nobody does the group choices and telephone, answer the telephone, and then it went on to say, I think I missed the part. Anyhow, it says that if we don't obey these principles, we will wither and die. You know? So nobody tells us what to do. They say suggest. It's a program, a suggestion, you know. And you know, but if you don't follow these suggestions, it's a good chance that you'll separate yourself from Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm so glad that it was all laid out for me, and that I continue to accompany that with, and I just follow along, you know, and just be one of me. Yes. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this.
Thank you, William. Thank you for being the traditionalist for the last 3 weeks. You have done an excellent job, and thank you for stepping up to the task. Next week we will have a new traditionalist, and Xavier will be coming in to do the traditions next week for us. So thank you again, brother. Now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. And we hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. What follows are some of the things we often hear with what the Big Book actually has to say on the subject. One of those things that we hear is there are no musts in the book or in the program. Sassy, what does it have to tell us on page 86 in the second paragraph?
Hi, I am Sassy Pickle, Heather. It says, but we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being of service.
Thank you for allowing me to be.
As we study, please make use of pen, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
As my pens try and fly out of my holder and put my eyeball out so I can't read the rest of the script. In order for us to stay focused as we study, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we are going to read from the blue page, which Jamie will put up on the screen. This is the page that we read before we start a new chapter. And then we will start our study on page 1. And that will be read by Tammy. And we will end at the middle of page 3.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back at page 1, where Tammy began tonight, and continue to page 3. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation. I like that part. Other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is that we are going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we are open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have a spiritual experience with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will hear a timer beep, maybe a cute little dog held up in the screen with a really cool looking mohawk to let you know your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, i.e. a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzard snipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. You want this part, Shana, or you want me to take it? No, I get the head shake. So how we arrived at this point, folks, we didn't just wake up this morning and decide we were going to just launch into Bill's story tonight. This is a 94-week book study from beginning to end. We started this meeting this coming January 7th will be 4 years ago. It started here in my living room as a bricks and mortar meeting, and when COVID hit, we went hybrid, and then we became 100% virtual, and we've been going ever since. We are in our 3rd season of doing this book study, and we started at the title page with our very first promise in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism, and we go line by line through everything with the questions and answers format. So it has taken us 9 weeks in this new season to get to where we are tonight. And when we end up wrapping up, we will end up finishing up with Dr. Bob's Nightmare, and we will spend 2 weeks in the traditions and an extra week in the spiritual experience, and having had a total of 4 times visiting the spiritual experience. So I hope that you will come back and join us again and again and often. And I forgot to mention earlier in announcements, should you like what we have to offer, you are more than welcome to join us as a home group. You can either let me or Trish or Shana know, and all we need is just a little information like name, email address, so that we can contact you. Trish just put the information in the chat. We love having a good solid home group, and we do lots of great things. So that being said, Shana, I'll let you read the next part, and I'll get the blue page ready.
Beautiful, thank you. So before we start the recap, we're going to need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you'd like to be one of our answer readers. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website.
There's Zane. He's a good old pro. And this blue page, folks, you will not have, but it does come out of our study guide that we use, and Shayna is going to read it for us. And this way you see what the same information we have.
All right. Everybody see it okay? Week 9, Chapter 1, Bill's story. This is the blue page. The main purpose of Bill's story is for identification, as are the other stories in this textbook. In The Doctor's Opinion, we learned the exact nature of alcoholism. We learned that we're powerless because of the allergic reaction the alcoholic has to alcohol, craving that comes with the first few drinks, and of the unmanageability resulting from a mind that cannot remember the allergic reaction. We start drinking again, even though we sincerely promised to never do it again. In Bill's story, we will be 12-stepped by Bill W. himself. We will see the progression of the disease in his life. As we study his story, we should look for the effect of drinking on Bill that you too have experienced. We can look at what happened to him and say to ourselves, yes, that happened to me too. Or no, that hasn't happened to me yet. As we study his story, ignore the differences, such as he was from Vermont, he was a stockbroker, he was in a world war, etc. Look only for the similarities of experience resulting from drinking. Some of these will be noted as we progress in our study of Chapter 1. We will also learn how Bill found hope as the result of a visit from his longtime friend, Ebby T., who became Bill's sponsor. While in Towns Hospital, Ebby visited Bill and helped him take the actions of our 12 steps, which resulted in Bill having a spiritual experience. Bill tells us what his life was like after taking the action and lived 36 years without ever taking another drink. If we do what Bill did, we will get what Bill got.
Thank you so much, Shayna. And I have a quick comment. Folks, as we look at the first 8 pages, here's something to consider. Did I think, drink, and act like Bill W. did? Look at the remaining pages and witness the coming of the miracle in Bill's life. Do I believe I can have this miracle too? And with that note, Tammy, would you, Renovation Pickle, you are up, my friend.
Thank you, Jamie. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tammy. I'm a recovering alcoholic. Begin on page 1, chapter 1, Bill's story. War fever ran high in the New England town to which we new young officers from Plattsburgh were assigned, and we were flattered when the first citizens took us to their homes, making us feel heroic. Here was love, applause, war, moments sublime with intervals hilarious. I was part of life at last, and in the midst of the excitement, I discovered liquor. I forgot the strong warnings and the prejudices of my people concerning drink. In time, we sailed for over there. I was very lonely and again turned to alcohol. We landed in England. I visited Winchester Cathedral. Much moved, I wandered outside. My attention was caught by a doggerel on an old tombstone. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is ne'er forgot, whether he dieth by musket or by pot. Ominous warning, which I failed to heed. 22 and a veteran of foreign wars, I went home at last. I fancied myself a leader. For had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation? My talent for leadership, I imagined, would place me at the head of vast enterprises which I would manage with the utmost assurance. I took a night law course and obtained employment as an investigator for a surety company. The drive for success was on. I'd proved to the world I was important. My work took me about Wall Street, and little by little I became interested in the market. Many people lost money, but some became very rich. Why not I? I studied economics and business as well as law. Potential alcoholic that I was, I nearly failed my law course. At one of the finals, I was too drunk to think or write. Though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife. We had long talks when I would still her forebodings by telling her that men of genius conceived their best projects when drunk, that the most majestic constructions of philosophic thought were so derived. By the time I had completed the course, I knew the law was not for me. The inviting maelstrom of Wall Street had me in its grip. Business and financial leaders were my heroes. Out of all this alloy of drink and speculation, I commenced to forge the weapon that one day would in turn, in its flight like a boomerang, and all but cut me to ribbons. Living modestly, my wife and I saved $1,000. I went into certain securities, then cheap and rather unpopular. I rightly imagined they would someday have a great rise. I failed to persuade my broker friends to send me out looking over factories and managements, but my wife and I decided to go anyway. I developed a theory that most people lost money in stocks through ignorance of markets. I discovered many more reasons later on. We gave up our positions and off we roared on a motorcycle, the sidecar stuffed with my tent, blankets, and change of clothes, and 3 huge volumes of financial references service. Our friends thought a lunacy commission should be appointed. Perhaps they were right. I had had some success at speculation, so we had little money. But we once worked on a farm for a month to avoid drawing on our small capital. That was the last honest manual labor of my part for many a day. We covered the whole eastern United States in a year. At the end of it, my reports to Wall Street procured me a position there and the use of a large expense account. The exercise of an option brought in more money, leaving us with a profit of several $1,000s for that year. For the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. I had arrived. My judgment and ideas were followed by many to the tune of paper millions. The great boom of the late 20s was seething and swelling. Drink was taking an important, exhilarating part in my life. There was loud talk in the jazz places uptown. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. Scoffers could scoff and be damned. I made a host of fair-weather friends.
Thank you so much for your service tonight, Tammy. Most excellent. So, folks, we're going right back to the beginning of Bill's story. And we are going to go into the question portion right now. And thank you to all who raised your hands tonight. The batting order is going to be Zane, Kenny, Molly, our own Toe Tap and Pickle, William, and our hand-rolled pickle. So all of you can go ahead and unmute. And Zane, the first question is coming to you, my friend. Welcome from far, far away places like New Zealand. Good to have you with us, brother. 2-part question. Where was Bill when he had his first experience with alcohol, and what flattered these young officers?
War fever ran high in New England town, to which we knew. Young officers from Plattsburgh were assigned, and we were flattered when the first citizens took us to their homes, making us feel heroic.
Thank you so much. And Kenny, what did he find in these homes?
It was love, applause, war, moments sublime with interviews of hilarious.
Thank you so much. Molly, what was his mood?
I was part of life at last. And in the midst of the excitement, I discovered liquor.
Thank you. And toe tapping. What was his mood when he turned to drinking?
I forgot the strong warnings and the prejudices of my people concerning drink.
Thank you. William, when Bill was lonely and drank, did he do so to change the way he thought and the way he felt? 2 sentences, please.
In time we settled it for over there. I was very lonely and again turned to alcohol.
Thank you, sir. And Nancy, coming to you. When Bill visited Winchester Cathedral, what doggerel caught his attention? Read the entire paragraph. Nancy, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay, we landed in England. I visited Winchester Cathedral. Much moved, I wandered outside. My attention was caught by a doggerel, an old tombstone. Here lies the Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is never forget, whether by death or by musket or by pot. He died by musket or by pot.
Thank you so much. Zane, coming back to you. So the hands dropped down, so I'm trusting that everybody is still here. Zane, how did it affect him?
Ominous warning, which I failed to heed.
Thank you. Kenny, how old was Bill at the end of the war?
22, and a veteran of foreign wars. I went home at last.
Thank you. Molly, 2-part question. Did Bill appear to think well of himself, and what gave him that idea?
I fancied myself a leader, for had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation?
Thank you. And Trish, were his ideas a little grandiose?
My talent for leadership, I imagined, would place me at the head of vast enterprises, which I would manage with the utmost assurance.
And I have a comment here. Could this be ego?
just a little bit, maybe. William, was Bill willing to pay the price to be successful? 2 sentences, please.
I took a night law course and obtained an employment as an investigator for surety company. The drive for success was on.
Thank you very much. And Nancy, coming to you, what did he want to prove?
I proved to the world I was important.
Shana?
And I have a comment. Could this be pride and ego?
Little bit, maybe. Zane, coming back to you, my friend. What did he become interested in?
My work took me about Wall Street, and little by little I became interested in the market.
Thank you so much. Kenny, was Bill confident? 2 sentences, please.
Many people lost money, but some became very rich. Why not I?
Thank you. And Miss Molly, besides law, what did Bill study?
I studied economics and business as well as law.
Very good. Thank you. Trish, did his drinking interfere with his education? 2 sentences.
Potential alcoholic that I was, I nearly failed my law course. At one of the finals, I was too drunk to think or write.
Thank you. And William, what did his wife, Lois, think of his drinking?
At once I found that I nearly fell off. At one of the finals, I was too drunk to think all right.
No. Did I miss did I skip a question?
No.
No. Okay. It's the next one, William. Though my drinking
Though my drinking was not yet continues. It disturbed my wife.
Thank you.
And another comment here. Did anyone ever fuss at you about your drinking?
Haha. Thank you. And Nancy, what did he tell Lois?
We had long talks when I would steal her forebodings by telling her that men of genius conceive their best projects when drunk, that the most majestic constructions of philosophic thought were so derived.
I have another comment here. Did you believe you thought more clearly after a few drinks?
Every time. Zane, although he studied law, what really interested him? 2 sentences.
Sure. So is that by the time?
By the time.
Yeah, by the time I completed the course, I knew the law was not for me. The inviting maelstrom of Wall Street had me in its grip.
Thank you. Kenny, who were his heroes?
Business and financial leaders were my heroes.
Thank you. Miss Molly, what did the alloy of drink and speculation do for Bill? 4 sentences.
Out of this alloy of drink and speculation, I commenced to forge the weapon that would one day turn in its flight like a boomerang and all but cut me to ribbons. Living modestly, my wife and I saved $1,000. It went into certain securities, then cheap and rather unpopular. I rightly imagined that they would someday have a great rise. That was 4, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And I have another comment here. That $1,000 would be about the equivalent of 22,241 in 2023.
Wow.
Thank you. Trish, 2-part question. Were Bill's broker's friends willing to help him? And was Bill hard-headed, strong, self-willed, and determined?
I failed to persuade my broker friends to send me out looking over factories and managements, but my wife and I decided to go anyway.
Thank you. And William, what was Bill's theory? 2 sentences, please.
I developed a theory that most people lost money in stocks through ignorance of the market. I discovered minimal reading later.
Thank you so very much. And Nancy, what did he and Lois do that seemed crazy?
We gave up our positions and off we rode on a motorcycle, the sidecar stuffed with tent, blankets, a change of clothes, and 3 huge volumes of financial reference service.
Thank you very much. Kenny, coming to you, sir. What did their friends think of their idea? 2 sentences.
Our friends thought a lunacy commission should be appointed. Perhaps they were right.
Thank you. And Zane, I'm sorry I skipped you, so I'm coming to you now. How did they do? 2 sentences.
I had some success at speculation, so we had a little money. But we once worked on a farm for a month to avoid drawing on our small capital. That was the last honest manual labor on my part for many a day.
Thank you. Molly, how long did Bill and Lois stick with the motorbike episode?
We covered the whole eastern United States in a year.
Thank you. Trish, did their investigation of companies on the East Coast prove productive?
At the end of it, my reports to Wall Street procured me a position there and the use of a large expense account.
Thank you. William, how were their finances at the end of a year?
Exercising off an option brought us in more money, leaving us with a profit of $7,000 for that year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nancy, did this venture lead to great success for Bill?
For the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. I had arrived.
Thank you so much. And Zane, coming back to you, I'm back on track now. Were people impressed with Bill's judgment?
My judgment and ideas were followed by many of a tune of paper millions.
Thank you. Kenny, what period does this cover?
The great boom of the late 30s was seeding and swelling.
Thank you so much. Molly, how was drinking fitting into Bill's life? 4 sentences.
Drink was taking an important and exhilarating part in my life. There was loud talk in the jazz places uptown. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. Scoffers could scoff and be damned.
Thank you.
I made a host of...
Up. Stop. Only 4. Only 4, I'm telling you. Toe Tap and Pickle, you get the final question of the night. Was Bill successful in making friends?
I made a host of fair weather friends.
Oh man, how about that? Anybody make a host of fair weather friends? All right, thank you so much to everybody for being of service. You can drop your hands and remute. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for questions, comments, sharing spiritual experience. Just a friendly reminder that the absence of profanity offends no one. Oh, that's it. It's going to be the dental chair, is it? Well, Trish, since you happen to have a hot mic.
Hi, I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. And, I love Bill's story. And, like it said in the blue part that Shana read, I can't look at the parts that I can't identify with. Or I can, but, I can't identify in. And while I didn't live in New York, I wasn't a stockbroker, and I wasn't in any of the world wars. I can definitely relate to his drinking and, going to finals in college and not doing as well as I knew I could have or should have. But because I wasn't quite all there, I may not have been drunk, but I wasn't completely sober. And while I didn't think my drinking bothered anybody, I did have friends of mine who were starting to talk to me at that point about, are you sure you should be drinking as much as you are? And, I always had dreams. I always had dreams of what I wanted to do and the great things in life that I would do. And then because of my drinking, I always felt like I was settling for so much less than my dreams just because I wasn't willing to give up my drinking in order to reach those dreams. I never jumped on a motorcycle to explore the eastern U.S., but I did always dream about traveling a whole lot. And, that's just starting to come into my life now. And that's a wonderful thing. But, looking at the way he drank and looking at how drinking was starting to take the center of his life and the center of his world, and so many other things were getting pushed aside, Lois being one of them, not doing his schoolwork, one of them, his job, or not being able to hold a job for years, it said. And while I didn't get to that point of not holding a job for so many years, I knew I was well on my way there. And I know that I knew when I came in, and I know now that if I had continued drinking longer, I would have gotten to that point. But, the things that I really look at this point tonight is, looking at the things he was dreaming about, looking at the things that he wanted to do, but then never actually managed to reach those dreams or changed his dreams because of his drinking and letting his dreams or letting his drinking get in the way of achieving what he really wanted out of life. And with that, well, there's no other hand, so I could keep going.
You could. It could become the toe tap and speaker meeting.
Oh, no, thank you.
All right. Well, feel free to raise your hands, folks, or just go like this, and I'll bring you on in. Don't be shy. This meeting is for you. Christy, hi. Welcome.
Hi. I'm just so freaked out. I've got COVID and I feel like hell, and sorry for cursing. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. I'm probably just going to listen, but if you think of me, say a little prayer, okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Christy. You are in our prayers, and I am glad you're with us, my friend. Good to have you here. Kenny, come on in. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kenny. I'm alcoholic. Did I drink like Bill? Did I feel like Bill? In the beginning of my drinking, it was like it was used to give me the courage to dance and mingle among people in party situations. Because before I met alcohol, I was a wallflower, and I felt awkward in them type of situation. But then when I had a few drinks, I became Buddy Love. I became the guy who could dance and talk to people, and I became the life of the party. At least in my mind, I did. And that's how alcohol was with me until as I grew and continuing to change. Alcohol and other things eventually cut me down, so I identify with that with Bill too. Now things have changed a lot. I identify that I can't drink because if I drink, what happened to me? The same thing that always happened before. Only this time even be more worse because I'm older. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, grateful you're here. And it'll take me a couple of times to say your name right. Is it Mayella? Okay, welcome. Glad you're here. Come on in.
Thank you. Mayella, recovered alcoholic. I've never read this chapter the way we read it and how it's broken down into the questions and the sentences. But it made sense to me because when I first started drinking, I was part of life at last. I was in the book. So I had a lot of warnings before I would drink, just like through my family, because alcoholism was alive and well in my family when I was growing up. So, the warnings and the prejudice of my people concerning drink, I didn't care because once I had the allergy, but I was very lonely, and again, I turned to alcohol. That was me every time because I just wanted to be there. I was a blackout drinker and I wanted to be fast. Let's see what else. On page 2 where it says, I proved to the world I was important. I never saw myself that way, but I think the attention that I wanted from the men is where, I can relate to that in the ego. And then, every time I would wake up, I felt like I had arrived after stuff that I couldn't even remember. And then the last thing that we read, I made a host of other weather friends. I've never had girlfriends. I couldn't even be friends with myself because I was living a lie. Yeah, it just brought me back to what I've forgotten. When my ego makes me forget in my spirit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you with us, and I hope you will continue to join us regularly. We do this for 94 weeks, so it's a great way to study the book. Anthony, welcome, brother. Good to see you tonight. Come on in.
Hey, good to see you too. Anthony, alcoholic. I like the way you've broken this up also. I'm starting to hear things a little different. This took me back to, I kind of had my dream job. And I met my ex-partner through this as well, through this job as well. I think I kind of needed that ego boost that I got from alcohol. He enjoyed that side of me as well. We were both entertainers, so we experienced the travel. We did the exhilaration, the fair weather friends. All of that applied to me and my story. But I needed that ego boost. I needed that drink, and it escalated. There's a section here where he says, though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife. We both drank, but I did get that conversation as well. So I tried to quit. I quit for a little bit, but then we both were back at it. And that escalated. We're in a cast of people who also wanted to party and drink because, we that day. So we're going to go ahead. We deserve this today. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But wow, that kind of took me back to where we started and where we ended. It just piled on top of itself. Just the need to drink or the excuse to drink, or we could find any reason to drink. And I don't know why it's hitting me right now. I already knew this stuff, but it's kind of hitting me now. It was all ego. A lot of it was ego, I would say. I'm rambling, but thanks.
Thank you, my friend. So good to see you. Well, William, welcome, and thank you again so much for being our traditionalist, and thank you for your service as a reader tonight as well.
Thank you so much. My name is William Alcoholic. Definitely, I was clueless about my life. What was going on with my life? I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and began to read real stories, began to hear other people share. I just obeyed alcohol. And definitely, I didn't start drinking until I was 19 years of age, and I was in the military. I finished the Vietnam War, overseas, and lonely, found king alcohol. Start following people who drank and stuff like that, and start going out and stuff like that. And everything seemed like everything, as I stayed sober, my whole life began to go down the drain after I picked up alcohol. But I didn't know. I can remember coming back home from overseas and getting to California, getting on my knees and kissing the ground. I was so happy to be back in America, be back home. So, for my disease to go happy than me, it really worked, So all my dreams began to fall by the wayside. I didn't know it. And I liked the way he was talking about his pride, and I come back, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to hang out in front of the counter at both ends. How the thing that he had so much pride, Boomerang come back and cut him down, because of that dream, had these big dreams of spending money and $100 and talking in the millions and stuff. The ego would just line them up, I got you, And so I understand today what I was doing to myself at that time, So I'm grateful to be here, grateful that God has brought me to a place where I could be okay with me today. I'll be okay with me today. And I don't have to be lonely. I don't have to be ego driven no more. I can be humble and follow, We have gratitude because God wants because of me. You know what I mean? And I truly believe when I look back over my life overseas and stuff and do the inventory, and I'm still clearing up. A lot of stuff it took me a long time to clear up. But I continue to make meetings to still clear up, with somebody looking out for me long before I could look out for myself, And when I was a kid, they used to tell us something like this: God, look out for babies and foods, And I know I was looking at all of that stuff. But along the way, like you were, there was always somebody there trying to help me because they seen the good in me and they could understand that the behavior when stuff happened to me. Somebody was always there saying something like, "Oh, I don't believe you did something like that. I don't believe you doing that," and stuff like that. And the last thing that he was talking about, how his people that he was drinking was being eternal, definitely came to me. But my disease spoke louder than what they were saying. When they began to tell me, "When you drink, you're gonna drink yourself." My disease would say, I wouldn't come out of my mouth, but I think, maybe you won't drink no more of mine. And that's when he says, that's when everything I would find myself drinking alone because I didn't want to hear them telling me about my drinking. So I'm grateful to be here, because it could have been a whole lot worse. So thank you.
Thank you, William. Grateful to have you here. Folks, we have plenty of time. We've got about 20 minutes left to cover, and you certainly don't want to listen to me talk all that time. But I am going to go ahead and come in real quick. There are many differences between Bill's story and mine. And obviously some of the givens, I was not in the military, though I have lived through wars. And I certainly wasn't in the First World War. In fact, I didn't have education. I still don't have education. I dropped out in school, and I became a working class kid at 15 years old. And I've lived and supported myself that way ever since. I laugh and joke about that I have a third grade Jethro Bodine education. And that's not dogging on myself. It's just an honest reality and an honest truth. That wasn't my path. When I discovered liquor and people who were having fun, I thought I had arrived. It wasn't because I was popular or anything. It was the sensation that went with it. It was that feeling that I got inside. And that started for me about 10 years old with mom and dad entertaining. And when they cut me off, instantly the belligerent alcoholic behavior entered. The lashing out, the tantrums, and so on. And so what I would do, didn't recognize it then, I've only recognized it in the last few years, but I would sneak back into the kitchen and tip up every beer can and every wine bottle that there was to get that last drop. And what I've come to recognize that is the phenomenon of craving. You see, I had to have just that much more, hoping that there was another thimbleful, just that much more. And then I would have that mental obsession. And we haven't even talked about that because we're not even into Bill's alcoholism yet. He hasn't lost control yet in this part of the story. His life is still unmanageable. Yeah, he's had a couple of hit and misses, but he hasn't hit that bottom. I can see him and Lois cruising through New England, and a year in a motorcycle in a sidecar in New England in a tent. That's pretty cold, folks, if you guys have never been through a New England winter. And I know, Lynn. So here's what I can see. I can see Lois on the bike with the goggles, and Bill stuffed in the sidecar with everything hanging out halfway out of the sidecar, probably about half plowed. But that's just where my mind goes, because Bill's an alcoholic like me. Here's what I know. Is the only time I ever felt popular in my life, the only time I felt part of something, is when I was in a crowd of drinkers. When I was part of the party. When I had that couple of drinks to take off the shyness and the edge, and then I could be part of. Until I started getting stupid. And then when I started getting stupid, I was the one that they were all looking at. For me, my alcoholism, no matter what, no matter how many people were around, I knew this loneliness so deep inside that I could have all of you people in this room with me at a gathering and still be in such a deep, painful loneliness inside of myself. And that was my alcoholism. None of that mattered. And of course, in my case, there's a whole lot of non-conference approved substances that go along with that. The only thing that was popular in my life was the alcohol, the non-conference approved substances, and the other behaviors that we allow ourselves to do to go along with those types of lifestyles. Those are things I wouldn't have ordinarily done in this life. Never completed anything, but I did have dreams, and while alcohol did not take away my ability to dream, it did take away my ability to accomplish my dreams. I can remember when I was 14 years old, I had a dream. I inherited my grandfather's reel-to-reel. Oh, it was old. It was like from the 30s or 40s, and I had just discovered underground FM radio, and so I'm listening to that, and those disc jockeys were so cool, and I got this microphone and I'm recording myself, and I sounded like this. And maybe it was just the tape recorder itself, or maybe it's the fact that I was so stoned and wasted that I really sounded like this. Whatever it was, because I never completed that education, I never had the opportunity to do that. And today, in life, and I've never had that dream job, ever in my life. Everything was a matter of survival. Everything was a matter, and I've worked some great things in my life. And yet today in my life, I have the dream avocation in my life, which is being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't get a nickel for it. I know that today in my life, I am doing exactly what God's purpose in my life is, which is to be a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, to serve my God and to serve the rest of his children, and to hopefully help another alcoholic find their pathway to recovery. And I can tell you, I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, it is the best paid, not paid job on the planet. And with it comes grief, with it comes misery, with it comes difficulty and struggles with people and personality conflicts and heartbreak and misery and all of it. And yet the reward that comes with it, to just watch one person recover and watch the miracle and growth that happens within them. It's the best paid thing on the planet, because the price is the gift, the payment is the freedom. And it's the freedom of self, the freedom of the self-will, the freedom of the pride and ego. In about 3 weeks, we're going to get to the page where Bill says there was a price that had to be paid, and that price that had to be paid was the price of pride, the price of ego. And I absolutely love that Bill and the first 100 left this pathway for us. So Tim's got his hand up. I'm going to let him come in, and if some others of you will raise your hands, it would be grateful, because I hate having to call on people in this meeting. So thank you. Come on in, Tim. Welcome.
Hey everybody, Tim here, grateful recovered alcoholic. So I showed him a little bit earlier, but I have a buddy here with me, Steve. Steve, actually, I know he looks funny, but has been an important part of my life. In that Steve, when I got kicked out of my house, got thrown away. So I just got a replacement Steve that came in today, and it was something that I was able to get as a result of a lot of the abundance that I've seen lately. And I'm just super thankful for that, especially because when I had my kiddo over tonight, I pulled Steve out of the box and he just lit up. You know, he was like, "Oh my God, Steve's back." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm back." And it was a good time. So, anyhow, Steve says hi. He's struggling with his own, struggles with rum and walking the plank of sobriety. But anyhow, that being all said, the last few days have also been a real gift. I found myself in a situation that, 2 weeks ago, I never thought I would have ended up in, which is that on Sunday I had a buddy of mine reach out and say, "Hey, you want to go to church?" And I did. And I met this wonderful pastor. It's a wonderful church that's here in Greenfield, who took me out to lunch today. We had a great conversation, just kind of chatting about some of the struggles that I've been through lately, some of the experiences that I've been through, and it was just a really wonderful experience. And what I found out of that was some extra opportunities for service, because he was like, "Your story's wild," and I think there are a lot of people out there who could benefit from that, especially within our congregation. We've got a lot of people in recovery. We've got a lot of people who are in the LGBT community. Those are folks that you could help just by sharing your story. And that's one of the gifts that we have here in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? We have the 12-step work, being able to share and being able to find levity and brightness. And yes, as Jamie said, grief, pain, suffering, things like that. But the bottom line is we get to feel. Another thing that happened to me this week is I ended up going back to work. I thought I was supposed to do that tomorrow, and I kept referencing Wednesday and all of these emails that I was sending to people. But yesterday, early on in the morning, I got a call from my now chief probation officer saying, "Hey, you were supposed to be at work today. Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I was supposed to be there Wednesday." I kept referencing Wednesday over and over and over, and then I ended up back at work instead on Monday, and it was a painful experience. It sucked. It's been awful, because I went back into an environment where somebody accused me of being drunk on the job, which that didn't happen. That was actually one of my hard lines, and I'm thankful that I never had that experience. But that being said, it's been tough going back and knowing that there's this almost giant target on my back. That said, I have this strength that I did not have before. I don't really care what other people's opinions are of me, because guess what? That's their own issue. At the end of the day, if I go to my higher power and, things are doing right and I'm being honest with myself, then I'm good. And I had this wonderful opportunity. I had a kiddo on my caseload who got caught shoplifting. last week, and I ended up reaching out to them. Ironically, actually, they got caught by somebody that I trained to catch shoplifters 10 years ago, my friend Natasha. I was like, hey, you finally caught one of my kids. How weird. And I ended up going out to go see this kid, but I'm so glad that I called his mom first, because she let me know, Tim, even though this sucks and even though he's going to get violated, he got sober. He stopped smoking weed. He's been sober for 4 days, and I've never seen him so clear. And I went out to go see this kid, ready to read him the riot act, especially because the person who'd been covering before was really lax, and his mom was like, oh yeah, he loved her. She didn't even come over to our house to do home visits, which is just a basic part of the job. And this family lives literally right next to the courthouse. It's a 2-minute walk. So I get out there, and he's got this light in his eyes that I'd never seen before. He's finally awake. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I saw that kid stoned out of his gourd, and how heartbreaking it was, because I saw myself in him. And I saw not only myself in him as somebody who used to do that sort of thing, but with alcohol, right? But also as somebody who had all this potential and just kept hitting the fast forward button. And the conversation that I got to have with him was, listen, so long as you're on the right path, then, you'll find that wonderful things happen. Both of his parents are in recovery. They're doing quite well. They've had some struggles with that, but I've seen them overcome that. And they've done a lot of 12-step work recently, including driving somebody out 2 hours to Boston. I mean, we're 2 hours there, 2 hours back, just the other night. And now they have their own business, and they just got it incorporated, and they're just coming into abundance. And this kid finally got it, and I made suggestions to him. I said, I want you to start going to meetings. I don't want you to necessarily find a sponsor. I just want you to go and listen. I want you to get 5 meetings under your belt and listen. And this kid was literally talking to his dad that night and saying, let's go to the 6 o'clock meeting right down the road. They didn't make it last night, but he's going to start to go to online meetings, things like that, and he's doing daily check-ins with me. I also asked him, I said, I don't want you to get a sponsor per se, but I need you to have a daily accountability partner, and it can't be me forever. So you're going to call me at 3 p.m. every day, but in the interim, you're going to find somebody in the community who can hold you accountable, much like a sponsor-sponsee relationship. And he did that with his principal, who's a great guy, just a really great guy. And his principal, I was a little worried that it wasn't going to work out, but his principal said, I will make this work. And I'm confident in leading that kiddo to that path that he's going to do great things. This kid has the capability of becoming a professional boxer. He recently started classes and came home and was like, Mom, I thought I could fight, and then I see these guys, like, wow, it's incredible. And I said, dude, you can get to that point. And he was showing me all of his boxing gear that he didn't steal, by the way. He actually bought this with some money that he earned from working for his dad's business. So, I was like, dude, that's the fruits of your labor. Like, these are awesome things, and I can promise you, and I'm not asking you to believe in a higher power or anything like that, but if you just take a moment to listen to other people and then share your own experience, strength, and hope, you will find that wonderful things happen. And I got heard. I was heard by this kid, and I saw it in his eyes, and I saw something click, and I said, you know what, dude, you're lucky, because you don't have the 23 years that I had to deal with, the same thing from, where you started and where I'm at now. I was in denial for a long time about things, and here you are waking up today, and that's a beautiful thing. You get to break the cycle. And, with that, I will share the time, but love you all, and I wouldn't be here without you guys. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Tim. Glad you're here. We have a few minutes left. No hands up. Art, would you like to come in and close us out?
Hi everybody, my name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And the beginning of Bill's story is, while the circumstances are different, and I never had any desire to work on Wall Street, but some of the things that he says about what he felt about himself, I felt that way. at the same time, felt like I was never felt good enough. So there was all these things that I wanted to do and I thought I was capable of doing, but I never did it because I think I'm not good enough. And I went through life that way. And then when I discovered alcohol, those feelings kind of went away temporarily. And then when I come to and people would tell me about some of the things that I did, that feeling was reinforced. I could never be good enough. And we haven't gotten into the real difficult parts of Bill's story yet. But when we get there, we're going to find out that his experience in getting sober was he describes it in this story later on as a feeling. And he was laying in a hospital bed and he saw this light and he felt a breeze even though the windows were closed. And I never had an experience like that. But what he experienced was a life-changing realization. And I did have that. And Alcoholics Anonymous has been very good to me. And even though I've made plenty of mistakes in my time in sobriety, I've made some really stupid mistakes. Made some really crazy decisions. And I paid the price for that. And, I was told early on in the program that, you can do anything you want to do in Alcoholics Anonymous. Anything at all. So long as you're willing to pay the price. And what I found out in my experience is that there's a little bit of a catch to that. That's always true. You can do whatever you want to do. But the idea of being willing to pay the price, how can you know if you're willing to pay the price when you don't know what the price is? And many times the decisions that I've made in my life, I had no idea what that price was going to be. But I can assure you that I paid it, and I didn't always like it, but it never got me drunk. And I can identify with the feelings that Bill is describing here, even though the actual experience that he's describing, I don't identify with. In the beginning we talked about looking for similarities. And I can find similarities if I look for them. I can also find a lot of differences. but those differences don't matter. It's the similarities that allow me to find what he found. And I'm forever grateful that these two men and the first groups of Alcoholics Anonymous who wrote the book with Bill, he did the writing, and then it was subject to editing by the other group members. But anyway, they have outlined a program of recovery. And they put it down, they wrote it down, so that we have something to follow. And it works. It absolutely works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Art. And Shana, are you able to come in and read us out? She might be busy with babies. So I'm going to pick on Nicole. Nicole, could you please read page 164 for us?
One second, please. Yes, Jenny, where do you want me to read?
Our book is meant to be suggestive only.
Okay, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. And the answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you'll surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. And if you've never been with us before, we have a real special way of closing out. We're all here because somebody prayed for us. And there will be 263 alcoholics who die in the United States alone tonight, 95,000 that died this year in the United States, and 3 million worldwide. And tragically, some of them have been to Alcoholics Anonymous and don't want what we have to offer. So let's take a moment of silence for them, and then we virtually hold our hands together as a way of connecting. And then if you will join me in the Lord's Prayer, you can unmute for that if you like. And after the prayer, you don't have to go if you don't want to, because we stick around and continue the sharing after we shut the recording off. So here's your moment. Thank you. Who will take us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Thank you so much, folks. Glad you were with us tonight. Blessings to you all.